Hey guys, welcome to I've Never Said This Before with me, Tommy DiDario. Today's guest is the brilliant Matthew López. He's a director, a screenwriter, and a Tony Award-winning playwright. We are diving into Red, White, and Royal Blue, one of the most anticipated movies of the year that Matthew co-wrote and directed. Now, this film is an adaptation of the best-selling novel by Casey McQuiston, and I would say it's arguably one of the most popular books ever written. Let's see if today we can get Matthew to say something that he's never said before. Matthew, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing really well, thanks.
Good. I'm so happy you're here. I know you've had a crazy few days. You've been on a whirlwind tour for this movie, which we're going to get all into. I have to tell you, what can I say that will truly convey what it felt like watching this movie in that theater on Monday night at the screening? I mean, my husband and I went crazy over it. We laughed, we cried, we cheered, all the things and more. You did such a brilliant job with this movie. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know it's your first film. Why did you want to make Red, White, and Royal Blue?
It was about February 2020, and my agent sent me the book. And I had just opened Inheritance on Broadway, and I was looking to do something new. I wanted to start looking for a film to make. And then this book came along, and I just knew about page 50. I kind of knew that this was the thing I wanted to do. And it was, and then the rest of the book was essentially me already starting to figure out how I might be able to make a film work out of this book. And I found out that Greg Berlanti, who was one of the producers of The Inheritance, had acquired the rights. And I lobbied him and Sarah Schechter, his business partner, and eventually, they came to me and said, yeah, let's do this. And then that became the last 2.5 years of my life. I really, really responded so much to the optimism of the book. I really loved the fact that it was this queer romance with a happy ending and with really idiosyncratic, vibrant characters. I love that there was a Latine bisexual Southern boy in the lead. There's so much I could relate to in this book. And when you contemplate spending 2 years working on something, you had better really like it, and you'd better really be excited about it, or you better really be excited about the paycheck, I guess. But for me, I really needed my first film to be something that I was passionate about, that I was going to sacrifice sleep for. And this was it for sure.
So you said you were reading it, and then 50 pages in, you knew you had to make this a movie. What was that defining moment for you?
The fans of the book will tell me how wrong I am at this. So it's probably not at page 50, but their first kiss, I think the way Casey described the first kiss was so cinematic. I could see the movie. The movie was just unspooling in my head as I was reading it. And I love that it was this, a New Year's Eve in snowy White House grounds. I thought there was something just inherently cinematic about so much of the book. And I really kind of fell for the swoony romantic quality of Casey's writing.
Yeah, and the two leads bring this story to life brilliantly. I know you spent 5 or 6 months auditioning hundreds of different actors. You found Taylor, you found Nicholas. Why were they the right guys to play these roles?
It's funny. After having made the film with them, it almost becomes really difficult to explain why they're the perfect guys for the roles, because they are just simply now the roles. You forget what the casting process was like. And I've had to really go back and actually watch some of their auditions recently. And I remember watching Nick audition and working with Nick. He really convinced me that what Henry needed was a caretaker. And what Nick was able to do as the actor playing the role was less inhabit him than care for him. He really, really protected Henry. He really felt very protective of Henry. He, I think, as an actor, saw his job as being someone who had to just sort of create a wall around Henry and keep bad things from happening to him. And there was such an enormous well of compassion for Henry. And I knew that with Nick, I was leaving this character in very good hands, and I didn't need to worry about Henry, and I could focus on other things. And with Taylor has this ability to transform himself, both his body and his energy, into something else. He's a real chameleon, and he's a shapeshifter. And when I started reading him for this role, I could see Alex just sort of springing into life. And so it's funny, there's this very complementary energy that they have as actors, at least on this film, that Nick was very sort of internal and Taylor was very external. There was some sort of inward energy coming toward Nick, and there was some outward energy coming from Taylor. And so that, independently of each other, they were already, without having met, were creating these very complementary performances, just even in the auditions. And then I put them on a Zoom together to do a chemistry read, and just sort of like praying and hoping that, oh my God, please, 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 just if it's not true, give me enough that I can fake it. Right. And I didn't need to fake anything, and neither did they. It was just there from the beginning. It's going to sound stupid to say, but it just sounded like fate. It just was so perfect. They were the characters. They became the characters more and more throughout the audition process. And then when we got into this chemistry read, they just clicked instantly. So on the one hand, it was incredibly thorough, this process, both on my part and theirs, I would say. And then it just clicked and became incredibly easy and simple and straightforward.
Wow. Yeah, their chemistry is incredible in the film. And I know you guys spent about 2 weeks rehearsing and prepping prior to shooting, which I know isn't always common. And I think that's really cool. You took the time to do that. Was there anything that happened in those rehearsals that maybe influenced a change than, from something you originally thought that it was going to be a certain way?
Yeah, well, on a film like this with these two leads, I knew that there was going to be a point at which I needed to be the boss, or sometimes just sort of have a firm hand on things. And I knew that these 2 weeks were really invaluable for us, both in terms for the two of them to really get to know each other and to really feel comfortable with one another. But then also for me to give them an opportunity to challenge anything that was in the script, anything that was part of the plan for the shooting of the film. I needed to give them a lot of agency, because I needed then to take it away from them once we started filming in so many ways. And this was an opportunity for us to sort of it was almost like the whole thing was like an open source code. And for 2 weeks, the three of us really worked together to devise what this thing was going to be. We tried different avenues. We tried different ways of doing it. We blocked scenes. We ran scenes. There are a few scenes in the movie that are, as filmed and as edited, are exactly how we rehearsed them in terms of the blocking, in terms of what this thing is about. There's this lovely, tiny little moment in the scene where in Alex's bedroom, which is one of my favorite scenes in the movie for them. And it's in Alex's bedroom after they hook up for the first time. And the blocking in the movie that you see is precisely what we did. It was the very last day of rehearsals. And this little sort of moment where they talk over each other near the end of it, and it kind of suddenly gets awkward again. That just happened one day in rehearsal. And I remember clocking that. And on set, I had a video of the rehearsal, and they did it. And I showed it to them before we shot the scene. I'm like, do you remember this from 9 weeks ago? And so I come from theater. Rehearsals are invaluable for creating, for inventing. There are times, and especially on a film like this, where your ability to invent on set is very limited. And I needed to get their imaginations firing, and I needed that to allow my imagination to fire too. So I think it's what made those 2 weeks are absolutely what what made what is special on screen between them possible.
And what I love about you is I could feel it through the screen. You have so much pride in the work that they did. You're beaming when you talk about it, which I think
I feel like a proud parent. I really do, because I mean, the thing is that this movie is only as good. This movie would only ever been as good as my ability to get natural, easy performances out of them. And one of the things that I'm really, really proud of in this film across the board is how relaxed everybody is. And it starts with Taylor and Nick. There is such an ease about them that really just permeates every scene of the film. And yeah, I'm incredibly proud. I think, you know, one of the great pleasures and challenges of this process was editing the film, because it was a wealth of options, you know, and there's a whole other version of this movie which I could assemble out of alternate takes, and it would be a different movie, you know. Absolutely, very proud of those two.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to see those deleted scenes.
Let's get the non-deleted scenes out into the world first, and then we'll see what happens.
Fair enough.